the Notice Novice is something that came up to us in a conversation with, and actually another Phil Peters story. Phil, you're getting a lot of airtime here. This is an introduction from Phil Peter, who's a good friend who's on the Zoom right now. He introduced us to Linda Hill. You may have read her book. I think it's terrific. We get nothing for you buying it, but it's collective genius, and I think it's a terrific book about leading creativity. And we had a series of conversations with her, and it was well into those that she had this octopus sitting on her desk. And she started talking about her next book, and she's looking at this octopus. And
a drawing of an octopus, not a real octopus, a drawing.
Not a stuffed octopus. And she's looking at it. Thank you, Jeremy. Yeah, no octopus was killed in this story. I just watched that movie, by the way, if you want to digress for a minute. It's a great movie. My Octopus Teacher. Anyway, we get no funding, but this is like an infomercial of this. I'm the infomercial guy. Like, and one more, you'll get a copy of whatever. Anyway, we're talking to Linda. She has this stuffed octopus on her desk, and she's staring at it as she talks about this new book she's writing. And she said, yeah, I'm really struggling trying to understand this analogy that so-and-so had brought to me, and trying to understand what she meant about this octopus being related to organizations and all this stuff. And we said, well, who's the person? And she said, oh, well, I always have a really young first-time writer on as a collaborator and a co-author on any book I do. In this book, it's Emily Truelove, was I think a PhD or grad student of hers, and became a co-author on the book. And she says she says a couple things. One is, if I write book after book after book, I'm in a rote process, and I sort of think of these, I do the proposal, I do the chapters, I would do that all normally. Having a novice in there, it gets kind of messy again every time. And the second thing is, she said they just provoke me to stop and think about things differently, because they're seeing things for the first time. And she says, I find it incredibly frustrating at times, to be honest, to sort of feel like I got to stop and I got to try to understand. But it drives so much more quality in my work, which I thought was really amazing from a super successful writer. The other one, if you've read about the headlines, this piece of art, the first NFT, I believe that any big auction house sold. This was sold by Christie's, a Beeple piece of art. It's an artist out of the Midwest. He sold a non-fungible token, which means you have the right to call the art yours, for $69 million. Amazing. And the story, a friend of mine is an executive at Christie's, and she told this story to Jeremy and I a while ago. And I guess maybe it had been in the press a bit, but the idea that Christie's did it came from two interns. Two interns came up and told the senior managers, hey, there's something to these NFTs. Let us put one in an auction. Okay. And to their credit, they said, okay, we'll try it. They put the reserve price at $100. It sold for $69 million. You can't make this stuff up. It's because they were open to a perspective of a novice. And these I think it was two women. They were catalogers, and they just started there. One was literally an intern, and they've gone on to figure out more. I think they did another NFT auction last night. I didn't follow it, but there's one coming up again. But this is amazing that by listening to novices' perspective, they were able to think about, well, maybe our auctions aren't just for pieces of art that hang on a wall or sculptures that sit somewhere. Maybe they could be for something different. So a fascinating story about not only having a novice perspective, but listening to it.
The thing that's interesting, and there's a lot of good research that supports this. Our friend Bo Lotto is a neuroscientist who's written a great book called Deviate. But Bo put it to us this way. He said, pairing experts and novices is a fantastic strategy because novices ask great questions but don't know it. Experts know great questions but can't ask them. And so if you put them together, you dramatically increase your likelihood of asking and identifying a great question. And so it's a really interesting tactic. And the thing that's amazing is, and I see some of these comments in the chat, how do you create space for a novice to actually say something that sounds silly, perhaps? There's a great example. I don't know if any of you have read Skunk Works, but Lockheed Martin's famous innovation laboratory, one of its major successes is the stealth bomber. And the stealth bomber is a radical new innovation that, changed warfare, changed the world, truly. Where it came from was a young mathematician in Ben Rich's department named Dennis Overhauser, who happened to read an obscure Russian math paper based on Maxwell's field equations, okay? Novices are looking in places that experts don't look, okay? So he reads this math paper. It's been written 10 years ago. Even Russians wrote it off and they didn't do anything with it. We find out years later from the Russian scientist who wrote the paper, he said, my own scientists didn't do anything with this stuff. But this young mathematician read this paper and came to Ben Rich and said, I think these formulas will give us the secret for the lowest radar signature possible. Do you mind if I run them and figure out what is the proper cross section for a design? It's actually a physical design. And so Ben Rich, to his credit, said, sure, do it. And he came back with the craziest looking, piece of equipment that anyone had ever seen. The interesting thing is two things. One, the stealth bomber had a radar signature 1/1000th of the next best innovation that had ever been created. And by the way, many companies were working to create low radar signature aircraft. 1/1000th. Okay, so I think from a radar judges its size the size of a eagle's eyeball. Okay, that's what a radar thinks it is. So ain't nobody picking that thing up from a distance. What's fascinating is Ben Rich tells a story that the head of aerodynamics for the Skunkworks division, you know what he said when he saw the designs being proposed by this young mathematician? Let's burn him at the stake and get back to work. Because it was so anathema to someone who's envisioned aircraft being beautiful, aerodynamic. The reality is the stealth bomber it's unstable on all three axes. Technically speaking, it shouldn't be able to fly, right? But with computers being able to stabilize, all of a sudden they were able to materialize this design. But the point is, conventional wisdom said it's a bad idea. And Ben Rich, to his credit, was willing to, they called it, actually, I forgot on the slide, the title of the internal project was what they called the hopeless diamond. That's what Lockheed Martin thought of the stealth bomber. Everyone referred to it as the hopeless diamond because it had no chance of succeeding. And yet ultimately a novice, someone with a radically fresh perspective, was able to usher in a new technology. And the point is, novices are looking in unexpected places. They're noticing unexpected things that experts tend to write off, dismiss as trivial or an outlier. And a lot of times conventional wisdom is right. So it's a challenge, but it's worthwhile to actually commission someone to be challenging conventional wisdom, because a lot of times that's where the true breakthroughs lie.